Let's begin today's Vanguard news with the Japanese version of DZBT03 revealing 2/3 of the VSPO collab cards, so that English players will have something to look forward to for next year, assuming we even get this collab. The first map, Runa Shomir, is your typical D-series starter that starts off with how every lyrical monasteria starter has been doing up until recently, exercising and doing rehearsals. Also note that VSPO cards have their own nation, with Runa having lyrical monasteria as a second nation. Birth of Rookie Idol Runa Shomir gets an auto ability if you have a VSPO Vanguard that lets you add up to 1 VSPO card or 1 normal order from the top 7 cards of your deck when a grade 2 Runa Shomir card rides over her. As you'll see in a little bit, Runa's grade 1 artwork feels so out of place compared to her other grades. And I feel like some lyrical monasteria decks would want to run her ride line just to filter for a normal order. Chill time with Suga-chan. Runa Shomir gets all her abilities if you have a VSPO Vanguard. When ridden over by a grade 3 Runa Shomir card, you call up to 1 Sumi Rakaga card from your deck. And while on rear guard, she gets 5k power if you played a normal order this turn. I find it annoying how these collab cards will only work if you're using VSPO Vanguards, but are basically vanilla if you try teching them in a regular lyrical monasteria deck. It's like they only got the dual nation treatment so they can sponge off from their dual nation supports. Perfect aim Runa Shomir, while on Vanguard during your turn, lets you play 2 order cards if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher. Once per turn while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 Soul Blast to add up to 1 normal order from the top 7 cards of your deck. And while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 Counter Blast when she attacks to return your rear guards up to the same number of order cards you played this turn. Then call cards from your hand up to the same number of cards you returned with this ability. Runa is basically Prisms or Kyrie, but if she ran on order cards. And because this deck has access to Lyrical Monasteria's huge catalog of normal orders as well as Teased out clone Strega, this deck has some huge potential to become stupidly good. It's alright is a normal order card that when played, makes you soul charge 1 card then give one of your units 5k power. Then you can pay 1 discard at the end of your turn to add another copy of this card from your drop zone. With how Strega works really well in Runa and this order being basically a clone of the normal orders from DBT11, I would assume this was designed at the same time that set was being made. All this card needs is a grade 1 unit that lets you add this card from your deck or drop zone. Good Luck Have Fun is a normal order card that when played, lets you add up to 1 VSPO card from the top 5 cards of your deck. I don't know what's more cringe, this card's name isn't abbreviated to GLHF, or this card failing when used after saying this card's name. Freedom Violet Sumi Rakaga gets all her abilities if you have a VSPO Vanguard. When she's placed on rear guard, you can pay 1 Counter Blast or 3 energy if your Vanguard is grade 3 or higher to call up to 1 Handover Event Helper Poyon Echo from either your deck or drop zone in the same column as her. And while on rear guard, she gets 5k power when she's boosted by Handover Event Helper Poyon Echo and you played a normal order this turn. Then countercharge 1 damage if you played 2 or more normal orders this turn. So it wasn't enough that Runa plays like 2 of the most powerful lyrical monasteria decks and has access to a wide range of normal orders. Borshiro decided to give her a better version of Bedivere. Handover Event Helper Poyon Echo gets all of its abilities if you have a VSPO Vanguard. While on the Guardian Circle, it gets 5k shields. And while on rear guard, you can put 2 of your rear guards in the same column as itself into your soul at the end of the battle. It boosted Freedom Violet Sumi Rakaga to add a normal order card from your drop zone. So it wasn't enough that Sumire was a Bedivere clone. Borshiro also gave Runa a 10k shield grade 1 on top of being a Relem clone. The first map, Beni Yakumo, is your typical D-series starter, which looks that she actually belongs to Dark States instead of just having a second nation slapped on. Rookie Castle Lord Beni Yakumo gets all her abilities if you have a VSPO Vanguard. When ridden over by a grade 2 Beni Yakumo card, you call herself to rear guard. And while on rear guard, she gets 5k power when she attacks or boost, but she's put into your soul at the end of that battle. Just when Draduel players thought they can replace Jewel Core Dragon with a waifu card, that VSPO Vanguard requirement shatters those hopes and dreams. Queen with underlings Beni Yakumo gets all her abilities if you have a VSPO Vanguard. When ridden over by a grade 3 Beni Yakumo card, you call up to one Noakurumi card from your deck. And when she's placed on rear guard, you can put one card in hand into your soul to draw a card, and she gets 5k power. That VSPO Vanguard requirement is really pissing me off, since she would have been so good in a lot of Dark State decks. Sweet Night Blood Moon Beni Yakumo, while on Vanguard at the beginning of your battle phase, reduces 5k power to your opponent's Vanguard for every 5 cards in your soul. Then you put one of your opponent's rear guards into their soul if you have 10 or more cards in soul. And while on Vanguard, you can pay 1 counter blast when she attacks to call up to 1 card from your soul if you have 4 or more cards in soul. Then she gets an extra drive check if you have 9 or more cards in soul, and she gets an extra crit if you have 13 or more cards in soul. And just like that, Barra Magnus and Astria players got power crept by a freaking collab card. Expect Befriends to get even more expensive, even though she isn't out yet. And take note that cards in soul are totaled the moment you use her second ability, meaning that calling a card from your soul and going down to 8 or 12 cards in soul would still let you get an extra drive or crit, since the effect already counted your soul before resolving. Sugar Nuts Noakurumi gets all her abilities if you have a VSPO Vanguard. When she's placed on rear guard, you can pay 1 counter blast or 3 energy if your Vanguard is grade 3 or higher to call up to 1 Fancy Divalami Roro from either your deck or drop zone in the same column as her. And while on rear guard, she gets 10k power if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher and you have 2 or more Fancy Divalami Roro in your soul. Compared to Sumire, this seems counterintuitive considering you want 2 copies in your soul and she doesn't even let you countercharge. Lyrical Monasteria just proved they're never fucking punished in resource management. Fancy Divalami Roro gets all of its abilities if you have a VSPO Vanguard. When placed on rear guard, you put a card from your drop zone into your soul. And while on rear guard, you can put 2 of your rear guards in the same column as itself into your soul. At the end of the battle it boosted Sugar Nuts Noakurumi to draw a card. Guess we know how Noah gets 10k power, as this is a Rorelin clone. Cover is the nation's typical D-series sentinel whose name makes you think of that other VTuber agency. Here are the VSPO effect triggers. Take note that the names aren't Google translated and are the actual cringy names. They are also VSPO Nation, so you can't use them in other decks like the Bang Dream crits. Clutch Time is the nation's over trigger whose additional effect lets you either give one of your units an extra crit or heal 1 damage. I guess someone at Bushiroad's R&D is self-aware how over triggers are seen by players that they gave it an accurately name. Finally, Bushiroad released DZBT03's promotional video that teases Venus Luquier to be in the set. Ezel Vermilion and Maelstrom players got the short end of the support stick as they didn't get their upgrades in this set. And that concludes this Vanguard news without the bullshit. Special thanks to my Patreon members for continuing to support my content creation. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments how Dark State players won in this set with just a collab and a encounter upgrade.